Welcome to Ear Shifter. He's Rene Rouleau.
And he's Sean Capstick. And Sean, why are we doing this podcast?
We're doing it because we want to play bands that we like. After our first episode decided that we actually really like talking to each other in these podcasts. So we'll continue to do this. And hopefully people will learn more about the bands that we like if they like them already. And if they don't, maybe they'll find a new band.
Yeah. Which is basically our relationship from the beginning since we were like 16. This is basically what we've done is we just put this on a podcast.
Which has been pretty good for our first episode.
Yeah.
So who are we going to hear as the first episode of our second season?
So we are going to be talking about an Australian singer named Courtney Barnett.
Okay.
And Courtney Barnett, Sean, as you know, we're both fans of Courtney Barnett.
Yes.
And in fact, we actually saw her live.
And it was a good show.
It was a solid, good show. For those of you, if you're listening in Toronto, it was at Danforth Music Hall.
Great
it was
venue.
2016.
So a long time ago now.
It feels like it really is. It feels like a long time ago. But I was inspired by Courtney Barnett with her double EP. And then her follow-up, her first album, basically, as a solo artist. Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk a little bit about, who is Courtney Barnett? So Courtney Barnett was born in Sydney on November 3rd, 1987. She grew up in kind of a Sydney suburb, for lack of a better term, Northern Beaches area. Her mom was a ballerina. And when she was 16, her family actually moved from that suburb of Sydney to Hobart. Hobart. Do you know where Hobart is?
I think it's remote.
It's pretty remote. It's actually on Tasmania, which is the other island, basically. And I kind of looked up, what is the population of Tasmania versus Australia, the greater Australia. Tasmania has 500,000 people. So she went from the greater island, 29 million, Tasmania, 500,000. And then Hobart is 250,000. That's quite a seismic shift for her at 16. However, she's
got to worry about all those Tasmanian devils all of a sudden.
Of course, the Tasmanian devils, yes. She attended the Tasmanian School of Art, and she, grew up, like many people, grew up listening to American bands, but then she discovered Australian singer-songwriters Darren Hanlon and Dan Kelly. So they are kind of a large part of the reason that she became interested in music and got inspired by those two artists. So what I did, Sean, was I went on Spotify and listened to those artists because I was curious. So I listened to Darren Hanlon, who has 7,000 monthly listeners, could be an Ear Shifter band, and not bad, kind of fun, folky fun. So lyrically, I actually thought of you because I think you actually might like the way he sings. He's one of those guys that the way he sings makes you pay attention to the lyrics.
I like
cadence. I know you like that. And lyrically, he was insightful, kind of interesting. Like really, probably deserves more than 7,000 monthly listeners, if I'm being honest. And then I went to the other one, who is Dan Kelly. Dan Kelly has 4,000 monthly listeners. And Dan Kelly is a dubist, which is a subgenre of reggae. Mm-hmm. And do you remember the association I belonged to in high school?
The association?
Mm-hmm. I formed a group. There's 4 of us.
No, I can't remember. You had an anti-dub league?
An anti-reggae league. We were called ARL. And there were 4 members. We were all new wavers and did not like reggae, but liked ska reggae. Just to clarify that. We liked ska reggae. We liked the English beat, Selector, specials, but did not like regular reggae, for lack of a better term.
And do you still have these strong feelings about dub? I didn't know this.
I'm not crazy. I'm just, like, it doesn't bother me. Like if somebody's playing it, I don't go, oh my God, turn that off. But it just bores me. It just rolls off me and doesn't affect me at all.
So the 6th side of Sandinista, you have no affinity for one more dub?
No. In fact, I did not like that side. And I'm a huge Clash fan, as you know. But Sandinista was a bumpy 3-record set, don't you think?
I like them all the sides. I like the last throwaway side.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But me, not so much. I mean, in fact, off that album, I think I liked 7 songs maybe out of 3 records.
Okay. But going back to Australian dub.
So for me, I'm kind of biased. Dan Kelly wasn't really my jam, but Darren Hanlon was pretty interesting and pretty good. So anyway, she recorded a lot of her early versions of her solo songs. She recorded them with a band called Courtney Barnett and the Olivettes. And then later that band name was shortened to just the Olivettes. So this is where she's kind of starting to create some of her own songs just under that band name. Between 2011 and 2013, Barnett was a member of an Australian psych country band called Immigrant Union. And that musical project was founded by Brent DeBauer of the Dandy Warhols.
Okay.
So there's some interesting connections there. Bauer played drums on Barnett's first EP, which was called I've Got a Friend Called Emily Ferris, on Barnett's own label, Milk Records, which was co-founded by her and her then girlfriend, Jen Clower. In 2013, Barnett played lead guitar on Jen Clower's third studio album called In Blood Memory, which was also released on Milk Records. And I listened to that. And you know what? That was actually pretty good too. It was very quiet, very melancholy, a little bit sad, very Rene.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't mind that at all. So following the release of her first EP, Barnett signed to Marathon Artists. And there's a reason I'm talking about this. So in August of 2013, Marathon Artists released the double EP, A Sea of Split Peas, a combined package of Barnett's first EP that I mentioned and her second EP, How to Carve a Carrot into a Rose. Now, this was a strategic move on her part because Milk Records didn't have the international reach or the infrastructure that Marathon Artists did. So as a result, the double EP actually brought Barnett international critical acclaim with Avant Gardner, the lead single. That track was named Track of the Day by Q Magazine and Best New Track by Pitchfork in 2013. So Avant Gardner, should we give a listen to that one?
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
My hands are shaky, my knees are weak. I can't seem to stand on my own 2 feet. I'm breathing but I'm wheezing, feel like I'm emphyseming. My throat feels like a funnel filled with Weet-Bix and kerosene. And oh no, next thing I know they call up AAA. I'd rather die than owe the hospital till I get old. I get adrenaline straight to the heart. I feel like Uma Thurman post overdose and kickstart. Reminds me of the time when I was really sick and I had too much pseudoephedrine and I couldn't sleep at night. Halfway down High Street, Andy looks ambivalent. He's probably wondering what I'm doing getting in an ambulance. The paramedic thinks I'm clever cause I play guitar. I think she's clever cause she stops people dying. Anaphylactic and super hypochondriac.
Okay, so I remember hearing that song for the first time, and it was a breath of fresh air. It was totally different. Her drawl, the way she makes you want to listen to the lyrics to see how she rhymed pseudoephedrine.
Crazy.
And the line about the old lady, and it was a really catchy song. It made you want to hear more.
And kind of like telling a story, right? But also some nice little subtle humor inflected in it. And again, emphyseming, like, oh my God, how do you get that in a lyric? That's insane. And also, yeah, I think you make a good point. Like the draggy, almost deadpan singing makes you pay attention to what she's actually saying, which I think is smart and very much for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Very much a Sean thing. Okay. There's another track off that double EP that's a standout for me and quite frankly for most. The track is called History Eraser. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
I have this one on probably 3 of my running playlists. And I think once you guys hear it, you're going to understand why. So let's hear it.
Okay.
I got drunk and fell asleep atop the sheets, but luckily I left the heater on. managed to spell your name. I found an extra pound and made a bet that if I found a cigarette, I'd drop it all and marry you. Just then a song comes on, you can't always get what you want. The Rolling Stones are woe is we, the irony.
Okay, so you can hear that song. It just starts and goes, right? And that's exactly what inspires me to run faster or run more or just keep running, because that song just keeps trudging along, and the cadence is perfect for running. And lyrically, again, kind of funny. The whole Rolling Stones reference, amazing. Very trippy song, kind of an homage to the 60s psychedelia. And the very first song that my daughter liked.
Good. That's a good trivia bit there.
And for this song, Sean, like, where do you see it? Like, is it in your top 5? Is it in your top 10? Where do you think?
Definitely, yeah. Like I come back to hearing Avant-Gardener and smile. You know, putting this on makes me smile again, but I can't remember the last time that I listened to History Eraser. So there you go. But yes, it was at the time, like, yeah, the little chanting bit it was a great song. It is a great song.
It still holds up. Like, revisiting it because of this podcast, guys, we get to revisit these albums that we loved or these artists that we love. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to rediscover them. Okay. So on January 30th, 2015, Barnett releases details on her upcoming full-length album. It's recorded in 2014 with producer Burke Reed, along with 2 singles. One's called Pedestrian at Best, and the other one's called To Preston. And just fun fact, Burke Reed actually produced one of Liam Finn's solo albums. Do you remember who Liam Finn is or no?
Is he one of the Split Ends, the Finn brothers?
House, yes, right? Yeah. Which, you know, I had that Split Ends album, man. Like, it was fun. I Got You was the name of the hit single. And I remember the album itself was etched with a cool geometric pattern, which was unheard of back then. It was just like very, very before its time. And then Crowded House. Sean, I like 4 or 5 songs, Crowded House wise.
They were okay.
They were
okay. Yeah. There's other pop bands of Australia at the time, like In Excess. That first In Excess album was really good. Now, I didn't like what In Excess became later, but like
because it became popular, Sean.
Yeah, that was the old Sean. But even the songs became less interesting, and then who was a singer? Alex Hutchins. He stole Bob Geldof's girlfriend, Michael Hutchins, and he stole Bob Geldof's wife, and then did terrible things to himself. Anyway, let's go back to Split Ends was much nicer.
Yeah, and we know how you feel about the Boomtown Rats from a previous episode, so fair enough. But anyway, so both these songs, I love both these songs, but Pedestrian is just an absolute banger for me. I love To Preston too, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
I like To Preston, yep.
I know. And we will talk about that in a little bit, but I want to hear Pedestrian first.
Okay.
Okay, so this song, again, I think it's on one of my running playlists because it just starts and goes, and it's just awesome to run to. It's also her most played song on that album, which is probably not a surprise, right? It's got a lot of life to it. It's catchy. It's hooky.
It's a bit of aggressive and a bit of angry at the same time.
Yeah. So most played on her debut album, which is called...
Sometimes I Sit and Think, Sometimes I Just Sit. That's the album.
That is the album title. I think it's one of the best album titles ever. It's just so funny and so great, and so captures the voice of that entire album. So it was released worldwide in 2015 and was accompanied, of course, by tours in the UK, Europe, America, and Australasia. Widespread acclaim, right? Like Pitchfork gave it an 8.6 out of 10. Metacritic is an amalgamation of all of these critics. I think in this case it's around 35. So Metacritic score was 88 out of 100. Rolling Stone gave it 4.5 stars. NME gave it 8 out of 10. Pitchfork actually said it was number 9 in the 50 best albums of 2015. Pitchfork also said 200 best albums of the 2010s. It was number 67. NME's albums of the year for 2015, it was number 22. And it just keeps going, right? Like she knocked it out of the park on this one.
Completely. Yep.
So at the 2015 ARIA Music Awards, which is the Australian Recording Industry Association, she won 4 awards from the 8 nominations. She was nominated for the Best New Artist at the 58th Annual Grammy Awards and International Female Solo Artist at the 2015 Brit Awards. So she's basically on fire and doing really well. The next song they kind of push off that album is the song Nobody Really Cares If You Don't Go to the Party. And what they did was they did kind of a guerrilla campaign where they put up a bunch of posters bearing the song's title, and they put them up in London, New York, Los Angeles, Melbourne, Sydney. And the campaign actually garnered a lot of interest and online gained a lot of social media momentum. And it culminated in a surprise busking gig in Camden, London. And let's give a listen to that song.
Now, as a marketer, do you appreciate that? Do you think that was a good thing that they did?
I think it sounds like it was very successful. So pretty smart. Let's give a listen.
Okay, yeah, so I totally remember that song now. I didn't remember the song title, but yes, the definitely maybe the again, a little angry, a little edgy, but fun. And poppy also, and but you know, with an edge.
And also insightful, right? Because we all know that feeling of like, I don't want to go out, I don't want to stay in, and you're kind of torn, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, nobody fucking cares.
Yeah. So you might as well get over it.
You might as well get over it and go out or not go out, but just make a decision, basically. So I love that song for that. So of the 11 songs on the original release of this album, I love 8 of them, which is pretty good.
Very good.
Pretty good. Depreston is the second most played at 31 million plays, which lyrically is about a sad, gentrifying suburb called Preston, which is a real thing near Sydney, Australia. She is literally describing that tension between affording something in the city and sacrificing for the suburbs, right? Mm-hmm. Which is basically the beginning of the end, essentially.
Or you can be happy in the suburbs.
We grew up in the suburbs.
Yeah, you could be, I think Preston she could raise a lovely family there, and they could have their own musical instruments and do all those things. Wouldn't have to worry about the devils running around Preston. So
these are true things. But do you remember that same feeling in your 20s that, moving, are you going to stay cool and be in the city, or are you going to have to move to the suburbs because you can't afford the city?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we all have that feeling. And so she captures those kind of insight-based
in
feelings.
A story, in a continuous, there's a chorus, it's a conventional song, but she still goes right through the being in a real estate agent's car, going to a neighborhood you don't want, going one, and then wondering about the people that lived in the house before you went into it. Yes, I remember that very clearly when we were looking for houses. Yeah, I wonder what this place was.
Yeah. So amazing song. No surprise that it's the second most played. But, I mean, like I said, I love 8 of these songs. And one of my faves, it turns out, I've just learned, is one of your faves, which is Elevator Operator.
That was the one when why do we like doing this? It's because we get to listen to songs that we hadn't heard from a long time and really have to pay attention. I remembered how much I liked this song when it first came out.
Same. I was actually surprised, Sean, that it wasn't the most played song, that it's in the middle. It's not the most played song. It's not the second most played song. It's just one of the songs that are great.
And it is a great song.
But it's so funny that you and I both are like, this is the one for me. Like, that's amazing and somehow not surprising. All right, let's listen to it.
Okay.
Headphone wielding to the Nicholas building. He trips on a pothole that's not been filled in. He waits for an elevator, 129. A lady walks in and waits by his side. Her heels are high and her bag is snake skin. Hair pulled so tight you can see her skeleton. Vickers perfume on her breath. A tortoiseshell necklace between her breasts. She looks him up and down with a Botox frown. He's well used to that look by now. The elevator dings and they awkwardly step in. Their fingers touch on the rooftop button. Don't jump, little boy, don't jump off that roof. You got your whole life ahead of you, still in your youth. I'd give anything to have skin like you. He said, I think you're projecting the way that you're feeling. I'm not suicidal, just idling.
So again, I think that's why she's such a great artist and why I like her is the little songcraft, that little description, within 5 or 6 lines, you get in your mind's eye, I can see an older woman who is going to be contemptuous about a young Aussie stoner who throws his tie away earlier in the song and decides that he's not going to go to work that day. But then she cares about him. She's like, all of a sudden, like, now she's showing empathy about him not trying to jump off the roof. So yeah, it's great. And the fact that, his confession in the end is he just wants to be an elevator operator. Like that's his goal in life, which is a great Pixies song, by the way. But nice. It's a great little vignette. It's a great little song.
And it's so funny that you say that because I actually have a picture of that woman, what she looks like right down to, she has a headscarf on and sunglasses and her face is stretched from all the plastics. Like I can see her, which is a pretty powerful thing for a musical artist to do. Okay. So she's on a roll, right? She's doing great. And on May 21st of 2016, she was actually the musical guest on the season finale of Saturday Night Live. Pretty good way to finish that up. All right, one last thing, Sean, for perspective, we just want to talk about, who dominated the charts in 2014, 2015. So Britain and to some extent US, we had Adele, we had Kelly Clarkson, we had Justin Bieber, One Direction. These are all kind of released around 2014, 2015 and in the charts. So perspective-wise, if you put her against those guys, she's a very different beast.
She's a very, very different.
Yeah. Which is pretty awesome. Okay, so Sean, in 2017, Barnett collabs with somebody, Kurt Vile.
From the Violators.
Okay. Now, I remembered that you were a fan of Kurt Vile. I am not a big fan of Kurt Vile. I don't dislike him, but I'm not into him. And so I actually asked you about a week ago saying, hey, can you talk about this album a little bit? Because you actually like this guy.
So yeah, the Kurt Vile, American, not Australian, American slacker. They have a somewhat of a physical resemblance, right? Kurt is, if anything, a little bit more skinny and effeminate with a longer conventional hair. But, they both have kind of like a slacker vibe. And they got together and became more slack. Kurt Weill, I thought was interesting because he left the War on Drugs, which made them make the War on Drugs.
Oh, wait a minute. He was in War on Drugs?
He was in War. He left the War on Drugs.
Oh, I love the War on Drugs. That one album in
The
particular.
one album was when he left, and then the guy who eventually became really boring in the War on Drugs, who was a singer and then, went on and the War on Drugs became popular. But that first War on Drugs album, the story I remember in my mind is Kurt was going to be the singer. They had all of these tracks laid down. And he said, well, you know what? I'm not that into it anymore. Like, these guys were best friends from, when they were in high school. And so they had all the studio time, so they just recorded. So the first War on Drugs album, and again, dear listeners, you're going to go against this. We can always be hypocrites. There weren't as many lyrics on that. It was more mellow and atmospheric, and I thought it was pretty cool. The later War on Drugs became a little less endearing to me. I would, if you want to do them as an ear shifter band, okay, the first album's great, but I would not say that they're...
What's the first album called? Do you remember?
I don't know, the War on Drugs. It was that blue cover. I listened to that a lot. Probably, in the late aughts, early 10s.
Yeah.
It was a great album, and Kurt Weill was supposed to be on that album and left.
I didn't know that. Okay, look, guys, I'm listening and learning too.
So they get together, they sing each other's songs, they cover each other's lesser hits, they write some songs together and make new songs. It was okay. I listened to it again to getting ready, and I was like, okay, it lost its place in the rotation. It was fun. But what I think was interesting, and this again to Courtney's star power and influence at the time, right? So it was recorded in Australia, and it was a bit of a who's who in terms of Australian bands. So there's a band, Australian band, what are they? The Dirty Three, Jim White and Mick Turner, and then the guy who's now in Nick Cave's band was in the Dirty Three as well, Warren Ellis. So, that's a great, deep Australian band. And then one of the original Bad Seeds was on there, Mick Harvey.
Oh, wow.
So, so this was a pretty solid album in terms of people that were on the album. And it's fun. And then they collabed. They didn't collab again, but they appeared on the same album, the I'll Be Your Mirror album that came out. That was a tribute to the Velvet Underground that came out with that great. Well, you watched the movie. I know you like bands because they do documentaries. There was a great.
Thank you very much. No, I love Velvet Underground. We both know that. Yeah,
that Velvet Underground that came out in 2000. What was it? 2001 or something, right? That was a great little documentary about the Velvet, and they have all these contemporary artists doing covers, and Kurt Weill and Courtney Barnett do covers. Courtney Barnett does the I'll Be Your Mirror, so she becomes Nico.
Very cool.
And then Kurt does Run, 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 which is off their first album, on that Banana album. So, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Thanks for covering that part. I appreciate that. So now we're getting into her sophomore solo album, her second solo album. This was launched in Sydney in 2018. And where it was launched was a hotel called Lansdowne Hotel. But this is the part that I loved. And it was emceed by the ex-Go-Betweens person.
I remember the Go-Betweens.
Linda Morrison, right? Yeah, I remember the Go-Betweens too. I don't think they'd quite be a ear shifter band because I didn't love them that much, but I did like them. And I did enjoy them.
Another good Australian band.
Yeah, exactly. The album was eventually released entitled Tell Me How You Really Feel. The album dealt in part with Barnett's thoughts about isolation in the social media age, which is pretty cool. There was one kind of single or hit called City Looks Pretty, which was featured on the soundtrack of the video game FIFA 19. And I listened to that song, and that song was pretty good. It was pretty solid, kind of hooky. But the chorus didn't grab me as much as some of her other songs. I still like it, though. I still thought it was pretty good. And then next, Sean, she goes on a journey. And this, again, is the fun of this podcast, is you're forced to research, so you learn all this great stuff. So in December 2020, NME reported that a documentary is going to be made titled Anonymous Club. And that would explore the inner life of the notoriously shy Barnett amidst her significant rise to fame. So we talked about this crazy wave she was on, and she decides, I'm going to kind of capture the post of that and the struggles of a musician after something like that. And so obviously I watched this entire movie and I was pretty impressed. Like, by the way, Anonymous Club is named after a song from the double EP. Okay. Theatrically released in 2022. And I want to share some of the quotes to give you a sense of her at that time and where she was. So she's around 30, right? So think about that. Like she's hit this fame before 30 and decides to make this kind of very honest and open and quite vulnerable account of her life after that groundswell, if you will. So some of her kind of fast, rough quotes, she says, I let myself down with interviews. I don't feel like I'm a strong communicator. So she's just like talking about what she went through amidst all this craziness. She said at the age of 10, she felt she was an emo kid before she even knew what emo was. And that kind of fits for sure. Feeling comfortable on stage is rare for her. She has sad days. She talks about, I have sad days in Dallas. She cried on stage once and she said it felt good to cry in front of 2,000 people. She struggles to write. What musician, I think, doesn't? But she had a funny line where she goes, I'm sitting there and my head is empty and my heart is empty and the page is empty. And just that struggle to get past that. Maybe AI. Nope. Don't say that. Nope, that's not right. She said, a song is done when you just stop questioning it, or when it just flows, or when it's really fun to play over and over again. And that's where she kind of knows that song is done. I really when I was watching the movie, I really admired her bravery, talking about her struggles and her self-awareness, that she's a pretty lucky person, but she still has these internal struggles. And she even acknowledges, look, I know I'm whinging. I believe that's an Australian expression. I'm whinging a lot, but these are genuine things that I feel, and I'm not going to discount them. So through the movie, she talks about trying to find purpose. The whole movie, because of her thoughtfulness, it has a very existential tone to it, which isn't easy to do in a movie. But the film was really hitting on things that most films don't really talk about. Overall, she hopes to inspire conversation with some purpose. She says, my eternal goal is to empower people who need empowering, to feel something, to forget something, to remember something, or feel happiness or an emotion that allows them to transcend life and helps them in their journey. It was pretty aspirational, right?
Yes, yeah.
And this bit was kind of insightful and a bit funny. I don't know if she meant it to be funny, but she said, she talked about her fear of not being heard on stage, like literally not being heard on stage. So she would shout or play her guitar louder. But after or during her solo tour, so this movie captures her doing a solo and very intimate tour where she's just her and her guitar. After that, she kind of realized, maybe staying quiet is kind of good. And so where I'm getting at with this is the following album that she's developing in this movie is just filled with a lot quieter songs. The album is called Things Take Time, Take Time. It was released in 2021. Did it grab me? Not as much as some of her other work, but you're going to love this. Speaking of, so that movie, of course, has a soundtrack, Sean, and it's mostly ambient soundtrack music. And guess who fucking loved that ambient music?
Chloe?
Yeah, no, I thought, honestly, I actually listened to that album.
The soundtrack.
The soundtrack.
Yes.
The soundtrack for Anonymous Club. It was moody. It was airy. It was beautiful. It was sad. It was lonely. I actually, honestly, I don't know why, but I felt like I was in the middle of like a Nevada desert for some reason, and there was no one around. It was just me. I'm not stuck. I'm there willingly. I can leave, but I choose to stay. And that's what the soundtrack made me feel, which I thought was pretty cool. And I actually listened to it while I was researching for this episode. So I actually want to say it's totally my jam. I actually want to say well done, Courtney. And thanks for that, because I really, truly enjoyed that.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'll probably listen to it on my own more. Okay. So this is a little sad, but in July 2023, Barnett confirmed Milk Records, her record company.
Which is pretty cool that she started that way back in the day and then became, a do-it-yourself success story.
Yeah, with other bands under that label, right? But it unfortunately was disestablished at the end of 2023 after 12 years. Pretty good run. The final album released on that label is the instrumental End of the Day, which is the soundtrack for Anonymous Club. So I think she ended on a high note, in my opinion. And then on July 3rd, 2022, fun fact, Barnett supported the Rolling Stones at their concert at Hyde Park in London. So I think that's a pretty big moment. So we come to the question, which is, why is Courtney Barnett a Near Shifter band? Because clearly she is, or we wouldn't be doing this episode.
Okay, so Rene, you are so true to form, right? So I asked Rene, have you heard the new single off the album? And he goes, no, I don't listen to singles. I wait till the album comes out.
True.
And then I will decide which ones I like or not. I don't want to be pushed to single. Courtney's got a new single out right now. It's really good. It's returned to her kind of edgy guitar, fuzzy roots.
Okay.
It's called Stay in My Lane, and it's a nice little song.
Awesome. I love that.
So she's coming back. She's going to have a record in 26, and who knows what it'll be.
But for the record, Courtney, if you're listening, you probably felt like you never left, right?
Yes.
You probably felt like, I love the albums I made, or otherwise you wouldn't put them out. And we've talked about this, I think, with the Joy Formidable, where it's like, they're putting out the album not because of any other pressure, but they believe this is a great album. And I think that's the most important thing, really.
Yep. And I'm looking forward to it. So why is she a Near Shifter, Rene?
Well, I think bottom line, I think she deserves more from the rest of the world. So Courtney Barnett has 750,000 monthly Spotify listeners. So not bad, right?
Which is pretty good.
Pretty good. But I think our 4 Australian listeners, if we have 4, are
we're big in Australasia, Rene. This second season is really going to take us over the top in Australasia. You just have to pronounce it better.
Yeah, we'll start there and actually know where Tasmania is, maybe. I think Australians would all say, duh, everyone knows who she is, mate. We know. But I would argue that, again,
I think they would say oi first.
I don't know would they say oi?
Oi.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow, they are just hating us now. Now they're all going to turn.
Okay. We've got to set our targets on another continent. Yeah. Okay.
And not insult them with a bad accent. But again, they don't know her over here in Canada or the US or probably other countries. Even so, she got the Grammy nom. Most people don't know who she is. Quite frankly, over here. And in lesser ways, Sean, she might be the Tragically Hip of Australia. I think she's actually more popular than Tragically Hip globally, but same kind of idea, right? And folks, if you don't know who the Tragically Hip are, you're not Canadian, you can't have them. They're ours. So you can listen to me if you want. We don't care. They're our band. Okay. So do you agree?
I think she is definitely a Near Shifter band.
Lovely. Yes. And grateful for her music. 100%.
100%.
Okay, Sean, and who are we going to hear next time?
So I am going to talk about a band that I just saw in concert. I had heard about them before I went and saw them in concert, and I was blown away. I think more people should see them because they were so great in concert.
Okay, that's a pretty good teaser. I don't think anyone can guess it, though. Probably not.
They're named after a TV show heroine.
Okay. That's a better clue for sure. All right. Thanks, folks. Until next time.
See you on Ear Shifter.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Ear Shifter. Tune in next time where we'll cover another band that deserves more. You can find Ear Shifter on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Friend us or listen to our playlists on Spotify and visit earshifter.com for more information. Special thanks go to our logo designer, Stuart Thursby, and our intro-outro music by Joe Novak. You can find him as Bye Bye Badman, one word, on SoundCloud. And a big shout out to Joe for being our awesome sound engineer / editor. Until next time.